Right friends, welcome back to newspaper editorials discussion, and here some important articles are there today, and please give some suggestions with regard to the format. My idea is daily news of the day will be presented, will be uploaded as 10 to 12 minutes, and some mini capsules and analysis maybe 3 to 4 in a week, and mini capsules will be there every day, at least 2-3 capsules indicating or discussing important aspects which appear in important newspapers. So, that way I am thinking. So, please go through first week from May 1st to 5th, subsequently comment on that. So, it will be highly beneficial in comparison to the present system, in my opinion. Let us look at the first one. This is politics and the police. Here please understand, police sector reforms. Supreme Court advised 11 years ago, but no action neither by the centre nor by the state governments. Under these circumstances, please look into the news report. The Supreme Court reinstated Sen Kumar, who was replaced as head of Kerala police after the new government has taken power. And now Supreme Court reinstated, and all of you are familiar, the governments after assuming, or you can say after the elections, whatever the government comes to power, it is the normal practice to change senior officials in various districts. Not only that, at the center level also it is the same practice. So, Supreme Court is very critical about this, and now it reinstated one DGP in Kerala. Now, let us look at Prakash Singh case. This is quite famous as far as police reforms are concerned. Main points are 7 points are there in Prakash Singh case. He is a retired IPS officer who rose up to DGP level. Subsequently, he along with one more person filed a public interest litigation after retirement from service, and after 10 years the Supreme Court in 2006 gave guidelines subsequent to this PIL. So, without wasting much time, let us look at 7 points. The Supreme Court advice is constitute a state security commission. So, this purpose of this state security commission is it prevents unwarranted influence or pressure on the police forces by the politicians. So, to prevent unwarranted influence or pressure on the police by the politicians, this state security commission is proposed. Then to evaluate the performance of state police, at the same time to lay down broad policy guidelines. This is proposed, but most of the state governments have not bothered about any of these 7 recommendations. Second one is DGP must be appointed through merit based transparent process, and minimum tenure must be 2 years. This is violated left and right. Then senior police officers on operational duties, or you can say police officers on operational duties, like the station house officer in charge of a particular police station, at the same time superintendent of police in the districts, must have minimum tenure of 2 years. Then the next point is investigation and law and order functions must be separated. Investigation should be separate, law and order should be separate. Next point is police establishment board must be established. Police establishment board that will look at transfers, postings, promotions and other service related matters of police officers right up to DSP level. Right up to DSP level, police establishment board will look at transfers, postings, promotions, and beyond that, beyond DSP level, it will give recommendations to the government. Directly up to DSP level, police establishment board will take place, will ensure transfers, postings and promotions, and beyond that level, that will be taken care by, or you can say that will be only recommendatory, right. Then police complaints authority, because now the accountability Accountability is very important. There are several public complaints, but there is no mechanism to look into public complaints. So, a mechanism is to be established like Police Complaints Authority to inquire into public complaints against police officials. There are several allegations of misconduct, including custodial deaths, rape cases in police custody, grievous injuries, and to look at all these aspects, separate Police Complaints Authority must be established and National Security Commission at the center level to prepare a panel for placement of chiefs at central police organizations with a minimum tenure of 2 years. But central government, neither the central government nor the state governments have bothered to implement these things. So, it is the right time to implement police sector reforms. Right, from examination perspective, these 7 points are very important. Look at the next one, a stretched market. Now, Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange indices like Sensex, Nifty, Sensex and Nifty both rallied to record levels. As per the editorial, it is stretched. Stretched means it is very difficult to sustain it because of various problems in fundamentals. For any economy to sustain, most important aspect is macroeconomic fundamentals must be stronger. Right. So, please go through this. Bombay Stock Exchange, it is Asia's first stock exchange. Sensex is the 30 stock index of BSE. 30 stock index. How the top 30 stocks are faring, based on that index is prepared. So, that is the Sensex, and the base year is 1978-79, base year is 78-79 and 100 was the base index on 1st April 1979. So, the value which was equivalent to 100 on 1st April 1979, at present the same index is around 30,000, that is the meaning. Then National Stock Exchange, base year is 95, base index is 1000 in 95 and now it is around 9,000 or so. So, here Nifty takes into account 50 stocks from various sectors. The difference between Nifty and BSE is BSE top 30 stocks, whereas Nifty takes up 50 shares from various sectors. So, that is the basic difference between Sensex and Nifty. Nifty means national 50, Sensex means sensitive index, right. Major stock indices rallied. So, this 13%, 14%, the indices raised for BSE as well as NSE since the beginning of 2017. Now, Sensex 30,000, Nifty 9,000. For the first time, Sensex crossed the closing mark of 30,000. Then, what are the reasons? You should have clear idea about certain economic concepts to understand this. Better than expected earnings of some blue chip companies. Some blue chip companies means the companies which perform steadily under adverse conditions also, those companies are termed as blue chip companies. Their parameters of earnings per share, the profitability, those things are normally much better. So, under adverse circumstances also they perform steadily. So, that is why they called blue chip companies. So, better than expected earnings of blue chip companies, then strong inflows from foreign portfolio investors. Foreign portfolio investments, especially from second week of March, increased substantially. In fact, they increased enormously after Uttar Pradesh Assembly elections. So, strong inflows from foreign portfolio investments basically jacked up the stock market indices. What happens when excessive foreign inflows are coming, then artificially Sensex and Nifty will be jacked up. So, here some artificial jacking up is there, and when foreign institutional investors or foreign portfolio investors withdraw money, start withdrawing money from Indian stock market, then substantially they will collapse. So, we cannot say how much they will collapse, but there is an element of this rise because of excessive strong flows from foreign portfolio investors, strengthening of rupee. When strengthening of rupee is there, foreign portfolio investors will be benefited. That is one more reason. Then election results in France, waning concerns over the election results in France. So, Emmanuel Macron is expected to win. We cannot say who is going to win in the May 7 elections, but the present trend shows that Macron is in the lead, and if Marine Le Pen wins, then automatically the country will go towards ending the relationship with the European Union most likely. Then US President Donald Trump's anticipated tax reforms, and now the concerns of demonetization have gone away. Demonetization almost became history, so the concerns have gone away. So, because of all these reasons, the stock market is rising. One prominent reason is this foreign portfolio investors. So, if excessive flows are there from foreign portfolio investors, then sometimes it may lead to asset bubble. Then whether this rally will continue, it is very difficult to say. Probably there are substantial downside risks attached to this rally. In economy, this downside risks is one important term. That means there is every possibility that risks are more for reduction than increase, right? The market capitalization of Indian stocks, the reasons for downside risks. The market capitalization of Indian stocks rose 40% against 21% worldwide. As I have already told you, there will be some element of asset bubble due to excessive FPI flows. That may be one reason when the world as a whole 21% increased, our stock market has raised by 40%. Then, in contrary to this, corporate earnings. We talked about some blue chip companies, but in overall sense, if you see, the corporate earnings overall are not satisfactory. Already twin balance sheet problem is there. Some infrastructure sectors, they are affected, public sector banks are affected. At the same time, overall the corporate earnings are not up to the mark. Then the implementation of GST, what will happen when GST is implemented from July 1, subsequently, initially, there will be some risks associated with GDP growth. In the long run, it may lead to 1 to 2% increase in GDP, but in the short run, what happens? In the short run, there are some risks associated with growth. Then the absence of recovery in capital expenditure, this is very, very important. There is no demand for credit. In fact, the investment by the private sector in the capital, or you can say capital investment by private sector is not taking off, and the public investment is also not increasing on the expected lines. So, because of this, it will have its effect in the overall market in the country. Then the impact of strengthening rupee on the corporate earnings is another concern. What happens when the rupee strengthens? Then our exports will become uncompetitive. Our exporters will be affected when rupee further escalates. Now it touched, I think, 64 or so, and probably now the Reserve Bank of India will interfere if rupee further appreciates. I already told you, when Reserve Bank of India interferes, that is known as managed float. Our currency is example of managed float, but rarely Reserve Bank of India interferes. Right, friends, overall, because of these reasons, there are substantial downside risks attached with this rally. Right, let us leave this here. IMF outlook, this is one lead item in the Hindu today. This is the article written by IIM professor. There are especially IMF recently in the World Economic Outlook. Please don't forget, World Economic Outlook is given by IMF. Ease of doing business is given by the World Bank. So, these things don't forget. IMF presents rosy picture as far as growth is concerned in 2017 and 2018. The world has grown by 3.1% in 2016. The world growth is 3.1% in 2016, and IMF sees that the growth will go up to 3.5%, 3.6% in 17 and 18. If you look at China, China's growth will decelerate from 6.7% to 6.6% and 6.2% in 2018. If you look at India, it will accelerate from 6.8% to 7.2% and 7.7%. So, if you look at 2018, you see the contrast. If you look at 2017 to 2018, as per IMF World Economic Outlook, China's growth in 2018 will be 6.2%, whereas India's is going to be 7.7%. So, there is going to be a gap of 1.5% between India and China's growths in 2018. Right, leave this discussion here. Here, one important term was coined by in this article, actually, that is secular stagnation. From examination perspective, from preliminary examination perspective also, certain things, do not forget, universal basic income concept, then bad bank and public sector asset rehabilitation agency or PARA. Like this secular stagnation is very important term. What is meant by secular stagnation? Secular stagnation is in developed countries, please understand carefully, in developed countries where already per capita income levels are more, and where the elder population are more, or you can say where children are less, where the grey population is more in developed countries, there in view of the social security measures post retirement are coming down, the people's propensity, leave about India. India has got huge young population. Young population means more aspirations. More aspirations means more demand for goods. So, that is why we are surviving. Our consumption is very high. That is why our GDP is growing at around 7% in spite of several drawbacks. And now, if you look at the developed countries, more grey population. The second point is their social security benefits after retirement are coming down. So, because of that, people are saving more instead of investment, not much demand for goods. So, when savings exceed investments, then ultimately growth will not take place. Growth will be almost negligible, growth will be there. There will not be much demand for goods and there will not be much inflation. So, every macroeconomic index will be just like close to zero levels, or you can say inflation will be very less, growth will be very less, interest rates will be close to zero. So, this situation is prevalent in several countries. This is known as secular stagnation. Secular stagnation this is the term coined by Alvin Hansen. This is the term coined by Alvin Hansen. So, it is the condition of negligible or no economic growth in a market based economy, and this happens when per capita income is relatively at high levels and when the percentage of savings exceeds the percentage of long term investments. So, here the real interest rates tend to reduce to very low levels. This is known as secular stagnation, most important word. So, here what will happen when secular stagnation is there? Here the author says that some of the developed countries are under secular stagnation because of the reasons which I mentioned. So, when the country is under secular stagnation, this conventional monetary policy will not work. When country is under secular stagnation, this conventional monetary policy will not work, and basically when the nominal interest rate is close to zero, this conventional monetary policy becomes ineffective. That is the reason why the advanced economies have tried various aspects like quantitative easing, negative interest rate policy, keeping interest rates close to zero. These are all non-conventional monetary policy tools, and they used non-conventional monetary policy tools, keeping quantitative easing, for substantially long time is in fact non-conventional monetary tool that is taken up under different circumstances only. So, the point here is when secular stagnation is there, then growth will come to the standstill, and now the developed countries used altogether different monetary tools, even then growth is not taking off. The reason is simple: more grey population, not much demand for goods. Under these circumstances, the growth is not taking place. What is being happened across the world? You see, across the world in developed countries, the scenario you see, savings are rising and investments are falling, because the persons are thinking of a future. Savings are rising, investments are falling, and higher savings were because of factors such as greater income inequality, especially after this globalization, after the tech related industries, then this income inequalities increased, and here because of income inequalities increased, the persons at the highest bracket, they are not spending much, and because of this the propensity for higher savings is increasing. So, here higher savings were resulted because of factors such as greater income inequality. Next point is people are saving more because of reduced post retirement benefits and greater life expectancy. Now, life expectancy is on the increase, young population less, grey population are more, they require more money for the future, and at the same time post retirement benefits are reducing. Under these circumstances, propensity for saving more is increasing. So, investments are falling, investment expenditure is falling, savings are increasing. So, investments are also falling because of capital goods had become cheaper, and population growth had slowed across the world, and more grey population means demand for goods is less. This is what I have explained already. Now, why the IMF optimism appears to be not tenable? IMF is presenting rosy picture as far as economic growth in 2017 and 2018 is concerned. Why it is not tenable? The reasons are: some of the countries are under secular stagnation. If it is true, in times of secular stagnation, growth will not take place. So, growth will not be on the expected lines. So, under these circumstances, if the contention of some countries are under secular stagnation is true, then projected growth may not be realized. Then second point is there is not much increase in private or public investment in advanced economies. In advanced economies, there is not much increase in private or public investment. Then, as I have already told you, high income inequalities are likely to persist, and this may have its effect on the growth. Then Donald Trump flip-flop on foreign policy, we discussed yesterday. So, flip-flop on foreign policy by Donald Trump raises doubts about his abilities to push the proposed economic reforms. Then the next point is, if the developed world is not growing, then it will have effect on the emerging market economies, and that may result in lessening of FPIs or capital flows. And China is another problem. China is surviving because of expansion of credit. By expanding credit, it resulted in growth for the past few years. Now, the expansion of credit, where it will lead, that is the million-dollar question. The next one is, if you look at some advanced economies, this excessive debt is there. If you look at countries like Spain, Portugal, Greece, excessive debt is the problem which could undermine IMF's upbeat forecast. Then the threat of protectionism and anti-globalization. This is already there, the threat of protectionism and anti-globalization, they pose more risks than the risks mentioned above, and the future of US-Russia relations, at the same time US-China relations, and the issue of North Korea will also weigh on the overall scenario of the economic growth. Overall, it appears that the optimism shown by IMF may not come true, and IMF may come up with a downgrade in the near future. So, the point to note is because of these downside risks, the optimism shown by IMF may not materialize. Then the next one is navigating between friends. This is very important. The article is very small. I would like to tell you only 2 minutes on this. You see here, there are 3 poles in West Asia. There are 3 poles. One is Israel, it is fully supported by United States of America. Then the second one is Saudi Arabia, it is representing the majority sect of Muslim community, that is the Sunnis. So, here Saudi Arabia is traditionally for the past 7-8 decades supported by United States of America, but recently the relations strained a bit. Then Iran, it is the monopoly of Shia community in Muslim sect, and you can say Iran, the relations with Western countries were not good, but civil nuclear deal almost 1.5 years ago is bringing Iran to the mainstream now. So, these 3 poles are there in West Asia, and maintaining the balance with these 3 poles is a very difficult task. Now, United States of America, after Donald Trump, his initial actions are supporting Israel, at the same time Saudi Arabia, but initial actions show that the relations between USA and Iran are going to strain. Under these circumstances, we have to look at India-Iran relations. India-Iran during the periods of sanction by Western countries prior to civil nuclear deal enjoyed good relation, and it is traditionally India and Iran enjoyed very good relations, and now these relations are on the increase in recent times. And here if you see 3 points I have noted here. One is in October 2016, Iran was India's largest supplier of crude oil, with its exports to India exceeding that of Saudi Arabia's by 10%. In fact, in October 2016, the oil imports from crude oil imports from Iran increased, and in fact, they are 10% more than that of Saudi Arabia's. And in fact, Iran is consistently offering New Delhi favorable terms in non-dollar oil sales. Then second point is Iran is buying basmati rice from our country along with the sugar and various agrochemicals. And 2 more important aspects are our companies are going to develop Chabahar port. Here expansion of several industrial facilities of Chabahar port, and work is being undertaken by Indian entities. At the same time, India is going to get this Farzat B gas field which lies within Iranian waters in the Persian Gulf. So, under these circumstances, the point is, if the relations between USA and Iran further widens, how is it going to affect India and Iran ties, and what pressure we get from the United States of America? It is very difficult to answer at this time. Look into the last one, a solution in search of a problem. Here, special provisions are kept for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in the constitution, and the special provisions to take care of, or you can say in view of discrimination, untouchability pertaining to scheduled castes and some of the scheduled tribes. Discrimination and untouchability was practiced for generations. In view of that, special provisions, special constitutional provisions were kept to take care of the interests of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. And with regard to backward classes also, please understand the difference. The first one is caste, SCs and STs by caste, because discrimination was because of caste, especially in scheduled castes. So, because of discrimination and untouchability, several constitutional safeguards were kept, and National Commission for scheduled tribes, National Commission for Scheduled Castes, or basically to protect the interests, or you can say to correct the discrimination, age old practice of untouchability, and for that purpose these special provisions were given in the constitution. And if you look at constitution, backward classes were also dealt with in one article, but the provisions are something different. In the constitution, basically to look at educational and economic backwardness, social and educational backwardness, government can take steps to eliminate social and educational backwardness, that is as far as backward classes is concerned. Now the point is, the backward classes are getting constitutional commission. So please look into this. Constitution articles 338 and 338A created National Commission for SCs and another for STs. Please do not forget, initially there was one commission for both SCs and STs as per article 338. Subsequently, through constitutional amendment, that is Constitutional Amendment 89, if I am not wrong, through Constitutional Amendment 89 in the year 2004, this National Commission for STs came into existence, that is article 338A. Now, similarly, just like SCs and STs, now backward classes will also have constitutional guarantees or constitutional guarantees to protect their rights, right. So, Lok Sabha passed 123rd amendment to the constitution, and when it becomes law, now National Commission for Backward Classes will become a constitutional entity. At present, National Commission for Backward Classes is a statutory body created by an Act of Parliament in 1993. Then article 340, I have already told you, article 338 and 338A established this National Commission for SCs and STs, and you see, when you look at article 340, that deals with social and educational backwardness, socially and educationally backwardness of the classes and the conditions of their backwardness, and to make recommendations to remove the difficulties they face, and this article stipulates appointment of a commission to give effect to its provisions. So, under this article, two commissions. In this context, you can say two commissions, one is Kaka Kalelkar committee and Mandal committee were established, and subsequently this act was passed in 1993 by giving a statutory protection to backward classes. The present 123rd amendment delinks the whole folio of backward classes from article 340 and brings it closer to provisions related to SCs and STs. So, in a nutshell, in future, just like SCs and STs, backward classes will also be protected on similar lines with the constitutional provisions. And the fundamental point is, some of the atrocities are committed by some of the backward classes on scheduled castes or scheduled tribes. If that is the case, then it will lead to clash between two commissions, and at the same time, whether is it required to give constitutional provisions just like SCs and STs to backward classes. And in fact, this article is in fact one side view. We have to look at other side view also. That is why I told you it is better to leave this discussion like this. So, that is why I am changing from next week. So, this categorically stated, giving this type of constitutional provisions for backward classes is not necessary as per this article. Here, what is the rationale for inclusion of safeguards for SCs and STs? As I have already told you, SCs and STs safeguards are because of this untouchability and violence, and caste discrimination is suffered by SCs and even by STs. That is why the provisions with regard to SCs and STs are kept to hear grievances, inquire into complaints, summon the officials, and civil court powers are given to SCs and STs commissions, and they can also issue directions and have the right to be consulted by both union and the states on policy matters. Once this becomes the law, then backward classes will also have similar provisions, right. And now point of discussion, this is one side of the article. The second view we have to see, if you look at one side, in case of an atrocity against SCs, the National Commission for Scheduled Castes intervenes as a guardian of their rights, but in most of the cases that the atrocities on SCs are pitted against others. They may be backward classes, forward classes in the social hierarchy, but if the issue flares up, suppose an atrocity is committed by a backward classes person on scheduled caste person, then it will lead to fighting between two commissions. So, that is the point of view expressed in this article. We have to look at second point of view also, right. But one point is Parliament, especially not Parliament, Lok Sabha passed this in haste, and such type of things should have time for deliberations, then only they have to be passed, right. So, we will discuss this in detail because lot of time is there, in between several articles will surface, and with this we will conclude today's editorial discussion. And please do join at 12:30 for banking awareness, that is intended for various banking awareness examinations and other exams. Have a nice day. Thank you.